Hello everyone and welcome to Brave Souls Rewind, the show where I add 200 older characters so you don't have to. Today I'll be covering the Christmas version of Szayelaporro, one of the very few Szayelaporros we have in this game, as well as one of the first. He came out at the same time as Christmas Hollybell, so now it's time to see whether or not he holds up as well as she does. Now as always, I'm starting off with a normal attack damage build. Now this Szayelaporro did get an increase in his stats and his attack is higher than his SP. Additionally, his bruiser got increased from 20% to 30% and he got a normal attack damage link of 16%. So he can increase his own normal attack damage by 46%, which isn't terrible, but it could definitely be better. The only reason it's not is because he has bombardment, and for some reason they refuse to give anyone with bombardment a decent increase in their bruiser. But I digress. The build itself isn't actually terrible, and even though he was chappied, his strong attacks did come in handy. Not only to break guards, but his strong attack 2 is a vortex move that helps keep enemies in one spot while Szayelaporro attacks them. It's not a very long duration one, but it still helps out with this build. Now that said, it did take me a lot longer to finish the quest with this build, but that was mostly due to the lack of stats and multipliers. Yes, you can increase them and get done a lot faster, but it's not really worth the resources to do that. Still, I didn't feel like I was in any danger of failing this quest, so for that reason I'm gonna say it is usable but definitely not recommended. Next up, we have the strong attack damage / strong attack recharge build. As I mentioned before, this character has bombardment, so there wasn't any real chance of him getting frenzy. He does have berserker at 40, which is okay I guess, as well as havoc at 20, so his strong attacks don't really lack range. Unfortunately, his SP is really low, and his strong attacks just weren't doing enough damage, to the point where I hit some enemies with all 3 strong attacks and still had to use my normal attacks to take him out. In fact, under this build, there were several times that I actually had to resort to the strong attack 2 normal attack combo in order to take an enemy out, which honestly isn't as effective as the last build since your normal attack under this build is not as good, and you will have to use it at some point because he doesn't have a strong attack recharge link, so there will be moments when that's all you have. So yeah, this build is not viable, though under this build his special does hit pretty hard. Now finally we have the hybrid build, and much like last week for Rukia, since he has a stamina recovery link, I decided to try and give him the best chance and use a full stamina damage build as the hybrid build, with 2 Senkaizens and 1 resurrected Tsukishima, to help recover more health if he were to get hit. Now, this build is the best of the 3 by far, since you're dealing more damage with both your normal attacks and your strong attacks. Normal attacks get an increase of 60% damage, and strong attacks get an increase of 100% damage. Now yeah, that does sound like a lot, but remember he doesn't have frenzy, and his normal attack wasn't great to begin with, it was just okay. Still, it was enough to get decent damage until I got hit. On purpose of course, for research purposes. At this point you lose 60% of both your normal attack damage and your strong attack damage. And while that may have been okay for Rukia, the same cannot be said for Szayelaporro, who doesn't have frenzy or as good a range in his strong attacks. The Tsukishima link does help, but unless you're close to clearing an area or there's health around you, you're gonna struggle for the rest of that floor. So yeah, like I said, it's still the best build out of the 3, and you can still clear an event with this, but I really wouldn't recommend it. So there you have it. He definitely suffered from having bombardment before he got resurrected, since because of that they couldn't give him frenzy, and like I said, for some reason they don't give him a higher bruiser. I mean, it's not like they'd be giving him flurry or anything, but having his bruiser at say 60 might have actually made a difference. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit like and subscribe to the channel, and let me know what other characters you want to see in a rewind.